and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, for emergency issues only, is there any school committee members' additions to the agenda? All right, hearing none, public comment regarding items on the agenda? Wow, Sean, there's nobody online.
Just me and you, buddy.
Okay. All right, that was an easy page. Consent items. Is there anything that anyone would like to remove?
Just 2549, I couldn't read it.
Okay, so we're gonna remove 2549. So what we're gonna do is remove that from these, and then we can discuss it. Okay. Is there any motion about the consent items?
Motion to approve consent items
With the removal of 2549?
with the removal of 2549.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 2549.
Just gonna abstain.
Uh,
Okay. You too.
Yeah, but did you see it in the drive? Just
Yeah.
not the whole
I gotta
document?
drive over to central office and figure out. It's user error. I gotta figure out
It's
where
okay,
to click
it's
to
okay.
read it. Yeah.
Okay, are you okay if we go ahead and approve it without you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just haven't been able to read it. I would
Okay,
rather-
okay. Is there a motion about warrant 2549?
Motion to approve warrant 2549.
In a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions?
Abstention.
Okay. So it passes, make the note that Jake abstended. You know what I mean.
Abstained.
Yes, abstained.
Abstention.
Town meeting update.
Not sustained. We left this on here in case we had any questions or anything. We certainly all know what the outcome of town meeting was. So we're moving forward with the additional 1.6 in the budget. I don't know if there's any questions.
Just a comment. I think we're all grateful that the town supported
Yep.
the work that the schools are doing in a huge way.
Yep, I think it was a big testament. I think I'll be waiting on bated breath tomorrow for the recount, just in case, but I can't imagine it'll be that different.
I just want to give a heads up to everybody that this was your nice little short meeting this month, so next week there's a lot on the agenda, and there's a lot of discussion, and there's a lot in executive session. to
Next
follow
week
up for
or in
this.
2 weeks?
On the 17th. Yeah, so-
That one is on my calendar.
That's the first day of staff training.
Which will have some additional
6:30, okay.
topics,
Okay,
you know, okay.
all right.
It's at 6:30 instead of 6 o'clock?
I think they're acting normally at 6:30.
No, we moved them to 7.
Oh,
You
because
requested
I
because
have,
you have staff training.
yeah. I knew I had
There's-
staff training, I was like, all right,
So
6:30.
there's finance and budget at 6,
Yes, there is.
I'm not on that.
right before, it's right before it, that's all.
Okay. Strategic plan, discussion, action.
So, we're gonna pitch hit this one a little bit. So, our strategic plan, sunset, went into the sunset, right? After 6, 7, 8, 9 years because of COVID and all that. So we worked with, the collaborative, the consultant, we worked with administrators, teachers, parents, guardians, and to create a new strategic plan. This is a 5-year strategic plan. This is only the plan, the base. These are not the action plans. So at next meeting, you'll see an action plan from the district, which will be more specific on how we're going to meet some of these goals. And then the schools will tailor their school goals off of the district's goals. So I'm going to turn it over to Sean to recap a little bit, because I was going back and forth between budget and strategic plan.
Yeah, you're perfect. I know we had a committee of people. There's about 20 of us at most meetings. We spent some time crafting the language that you see on page 2. That is just the language. We don't quite have where we want it to look and whether it's going to be in boxes or visuals or other things, but this is just the language that will guide the strategic planning process. Like Brian said, next week we'll present our one-year action plans. That's where you'll see more specific goals. At ours and the school buildings, each year their one-year action plans need to connect somewhere in the strategic plan. So it needs to be about something to do with academics, mental health, wellness, and then the fourth one is that it's the budget kind of one. So that one fits in there also. So I don't know if there's questions about what you see. It is not the final draft. It is just the words.
So I had questions, but it might be answered in the next report, so you can just say, this will be answered in the action plan, but there's a section called resource management. What are the rigorous evaluations that are generally talked about?
That will likely be a one-year action plan to say, what do those evaluations look like? How do we actually evaluate whether or not we're making progress towards this, or whether or not we're spending, we have adequate staffing or appropriate technology or all of it. Like, we don't really have a system or an outside party that comes in and says, you're doing the most efficient thing that you can.
Okay. Facility and staffing were on there too.
Yeah.
I was wondering that.
So that's where, I'd say that was where, like, next year, one of the SMART goals, I'm sure, is going to be about the committee to close buildings, and how are we going to thoughtfully go through that process.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we knew we were doing, but instead of making those very specific items 5-year goals, but now we have some umbrella topics to say, here's our one-year goal and here's where it fits.
I just wrote a bunch of notes. I think a lot of these are action plan level questions. Just want to make sure there isn't one that's higher level. Just give me 30 seconds
You're fine.
before we
Yeah, take
slide
that.
on.
And if I don't confuse you, Jake, it was very, spent a lot of time around the academic achievement came out, we were going to do that. Belonging, it took us a while to get the right terminology that we wanted to use there. The committee felt strongly that it came down to belonging, and then the social emotional well-being and mental health, that of course came up. We surveyed teachers, we surveyed parents, we surveyed guardians, and doing this process, everybody felt very comfortable that we were going to identify, implement, evaluate. So you will see that on each of the strategic outcomes. We're going to identify, we're going to implement, we're going to evaluate. So that's the repetition you see throughout the strategic plan. The last time we did this, we did the initiative, what was that? What was it called?
Planning for success?
Planning for success. People went back and kind of said, this isn't what, we want to kind of tweak this a little bit and see how that goes. Oh, you lost yourself. So, I just wanted to explain there's a lot of conversation about that.
So belonging, my question was, how is it currently measured?
So we use, we use the survey data that's available. So we have the components of the MCAS that I always forget what it's called.
Local?
That's the one.
Okay.
We have our SABRS assessment that we started this year, which is social emotional learning.
Teacher or student asked?
Student.
Okay.
So we do not currently have a formalized process for teacher belonging, for staff belonging. We have talked for, I've been here 10, 11 years, I think. So we've talked for 12 years about a climate survey.
Yeah.
And that's something that always is on the list but never makes the list for budget reasons. So that would be an avenue that we need to continue to explore if we're going to really be evaluating and making adjustments.
When it comes to SABRS, there's one that's filled out by teachers and one that's filled out by students?
Correct.
Do you know which one they're using?
Yes, teachers fill out K2,
Okay.
and then everything else is self-reported. 3-12, there is an option to do typically grades 3 to 6. Students will do one and the teachers will do theirs also, so then you can compare.
Yep.
And just look for differences. Find those students who say that they're struggling and teachers who didn't notice.
And is the plan to stick with those tools?
Yes.
When it comes to discipline, how is that currently tracked? I'm sorry, I have
Yep.
3 questions like this, and then I'll be up to
You're
speed
good.
with how they work.
We do it 2 ways at each school. One, the big picture is all the state reports that we have to fill out.
Yeah.
Right, all the suspension, all that,
Yeah.
all the fun stuff, and the bullying. We have to report any findings of bullying. Otherwise, bullying, we track at the building level and then at the district level, just through the forms. I don't keep track of how many or anything. We keep them, and when we need them, we have them. And then individual school level discipline, classroom, office referrals, things like that are tracked by assistant principals.
Yeah.
So like most schools still use a form that the teachers will fill out, and so they're keeping track on a spreadsheet at the school level.
So individual Excel sheets, school to school?
Correct.
Are they aligned, or are they pretty unique to each building?
They're aligned.
They are.
Or at least they were. I meet with the assistant principals once a month, I try to.
Yeah.
And last time we were talking, we've been more focused on attendance this year.
Sure.
But last time we talked a lot about discipline a year or so ago. We were all using the same form. Everybody was doing the same process, same follow-up with teachers.
And you guys have Power School, right?
Correct.
And Jake, I just want to add, because you showed me some information that you use. We had a discussion at our senior leadership team about adding discipline in there, because we had the iReady scores, we had the MCAS, and then we talked about putting the discipline in there as well too, so you'd have one system, kind of
Yeah.
like you showed me.
Yeah.
But it's built by the principal or assistant principal at each of the schools.
Same with us. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can't afford a program. It'd be nice to afford a program. All right, just 2 more. How do you guys track, like, council requests to see a guy? Like, do you have mainly these are kind of pushing it, like, how do you track the trends? Is it all homegrown Excel stuff in schools, or is there, like, something that is doing this for you? So, guidance council requests, where does
yeah.
that live?
With guidance counselors.
Or within the
Individuals?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Chris, I know you're still here. I don't know if you can speak to that. Is it?
Yeah, for counselors, you know, you're asking about how they,
Getting at the question of, how would we know how many kids over the last 3 years have asked to see a counselor? Is this number, like, going up, up, up? How is their mental health? Is it going down? Like, what does that trend look like?
yeah, I would say counselor to counselor, but in my building, I believe it's in other buildings too, you know, we have a student assistance team, and we meet every Friday, and so we discuss students, and we have a spreadsheet that we keep about our students and who's seen who, and that comes out in the meeting with our counselors, our nurse, our school resource officer, assistant principal, and school adjustment counselors.
Like a stat team similar, or?
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
okay.
And quasi-specifically to those, the nurses track, and each time a student comes, their software tracks every visit
Yeah.
and reasons for it. So
Right.
we could pretty often ask for a report on how many students are going to see the nurse with
Right,
For what
things that aren't
reasons?
necessarily
Right.
physical ailments, but
gotcha. Okay, no, all the other things are kind of action steppy. Thank you.
Can I go back? You didn't give me any minutes to sign.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, I just don't want to forget them. Okay. Business management services bid. That's my favorite.
Let me check in a minute where that is. So, just to give some background, more so for Jake, I know the 3 of you probably know this. So we currently use TMS, the management solution. It's a contracted business company. It ends on 2025. They've been with us since 2011, minus 1 year. And then we hired a full-time business manager, which for us was just a disaster. We had to let that individual go. We had to let TMS came back in, cleaned up that mess, got us out of some messy books, just got us back together. Currently, we pay $121,000 for the bid. We currently have an individual, you guys know Mark. We also have another one, Carol, who's like extra that Andy gives us because she was training, and he said, you know, you guys use her until I need her. So we kind of get 2 people for the price of 1. I can't say that's always going to stay, but stuff like that. So, we need to go back out to bid. So I'm asking that you approve that we go back out for a 3-year bid for TMS.
And you don't want a person, you want a private company?
I think that is a conversation we could have in the future. I think it's a little too late to do that because we should have talked about that prior to that. I can tell you, Jake, just from some previous conversations, we have posted a couple of times.
Yeah.
And as you know, a lot of the business manager schooling is disappeared, so a lot of people are doing in-house training. We certainly do have an in-house person who is certainly going for eventually doing that, is not there yet. So kind of the homegrown, or one person goes from here to. The last time we posted, we got 2 applicants. One had just some very minimal experience, no degree, and the other one had 1 accounting class. Not saying that would happen again if we went out to post, but
I just don't want to be in that position we were in when we had one.
Just
yeah. No, but it's
That was
always a
awful.
conversation.
wondering if it had already, I missed that conversation.
No.
We
I think-
didn't have it yet.
We didn't have it, and I think normally if we want to have it, we need to have it, last year, just to give people notice. Mika's looking at me like, so,
I'm perfectly fine with this decision.
yes. And I do want to say, we certainly had some bumps in the road, but I really think that they really came in and saved the day after our experience that we had, so.
I think they saved the day after the experience we had, and we've had issues, they've always made it good.
Right,
Like,
right.
And just for the general public,
Yeah.
what would an individual cost for like a person if you were to hire a business manager
You're probably
versus a
looking
company?
around the same price range.
Okay.
And Jake, I just want to explain too, and you can stop me if you already know this. If they're not on site, we can call them and they'll call us right back. They take our calls, so.
so I think when we looked at this before, the difference was a person full-time would cost the same as what we pay now. But if we had a full-time person and something happened with them, like, there's no option. By using this agency, they've got to provide us somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody had to go out on FMLA leave or something, like, they have to give us somebody, so there was consistency there.
So I just need your blessing on that, unless you tell me to do something else.
We okay with putting the bid out? Yes. I'm okay with that, too.
Do you need a motion?
Yes.
That's not a blessing, then you need our motion.
May I please have a motion?
Motion to bid on business management services.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let the record reflect it was unanimous.
I don't have any minutes in front of me.
All right, so we voted on the May 20th minutes, but we haven't signed them, Heather, so if you could, oh, look at that. Heather is magical. Thank you. All right, curriculum and instruction.
We sort of met tonight. And we voted to move a new environmental science textbook
Yeah, National Geographic.
thingy from National Geographic. And we said that we could waive the first read? No, we can't do that.
So,
You could.
you can, but we're out of meetings. The
Oh.
Curriculum Instruction Subcommittee unanimously agreed to move the instructional resource proposal form for the Cengage National Geographic Environmental Science text to the full committee. With that comes the double consideration that we are switching to environmental science from earth science in grade 9. And so that's why we need the new book. And so it is, the book is $22,350 for a 6-year subscription. That is less than the $25,000 that is budgeted every year for instructional resource updates at the high school. So that funding exists in this year's budget still and is ready to go.
So essentially, though, you'll be using almost all the money for science.
Yeah.
Is that normal?
We have a cycle, so whoever,
It's fine.
Is
I've
that
been-
gonna hurt anything else?
No, the only other consideration we've had this year is health, and a good chunk of the health resources were funded through a grant.
And we
So-
actually.
We
spent-
love that.
And we actually spent some of the other instructional resources on science and the
That was a grant too.
well,
Some
all
of
of
it.
it, yeah,
No,
not
some of it.
some, but not for the planting of vegetables in classrooms to bring to the thing, so.
The indoor gardens.
So is this considered the first read of that?
It can be the first read.
We are reading next week, so you can approve it next week, or you can waive the second read.
I don't feel like I have any document of it.
You don't, because we just met today.
Okay, yeah, so
Well, we
if
met
we could get
30
that
minutes
document
ago.
and do the second read next week.
Yes.
I would appreciate that. Okay.
I will put everything in next meeting's folder, so next week's
Okay.
folder, so you don't have to look back today
That's
to see
great.
it.
It's easier to find that way.
Yep.
Okay, personnel and policy?
So Mika's the chair of that one, but I'll help her out. We just talked about the cell phone policy, our current policies, maybe adapting what we have, doing some education around social media. We're going to continue to move forward with that, and more to come.
Okay.
Anything else, Jake, you would like to add to that?
No, good, good.
Property and transportation isn't going. Finance and budget,
It's meeting next week.
okay. Okay, healthy and safer schools?
We met last month,
We reported.
and we're done. That group has to reconvene every year. There was a loose end at that last meeting where the Healthy and Safer Schools Advisory Committee, through our partnership with the UMass Kinesiology Department and the survey we did earlier this year, there is a updated draft of the wellness policy that the policy subcommittee ideally will consider when we start meeting first thing in the new school year, because we do have to look at that policy every 3 years. We tend to do it every 1 year, so we're not going to get in trouble, but it does have to be reapproved.
Perfect. Collaborative.
So the collaborative met, we discussed, we vote on the budget, the next meeting, which is the 25th. There were some deeper budget cuts. Some monies were moved from the capital funds account. I mean, essentially, the collaborative is in a existential challenge right now. And so considering what the future services might look like, to make it relevant for districts who are in the midst of, budget cuts and things like that, and if they're, finding solutions. And so they really just need to figure out, what are the services that districts need for them to continue to exist, what services they can provide. And so we'll be voting on the budget on the 25th. My guess is that if Todd hasn't reached out to you already, he will, but reaching out to districts and kind of gauging what type of services that may be provided by the collaborative. But they've had some deep cuts.
Okay. Questions from the media? Nothing from the web. Never has anything for us. All right, we're not doing executive session, so I motion we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
What happened to the game?
So the camera quit, and it wanted me to
So
restart,
Jake,
but it was
normally Ruby signs
recording.
those things that two people sign,
So,
but because she's not
Heather-
here and you're
And,
a position,
well,
I
yeah.
put it for you to sign.